Yep, and I'm muted. Sorry. Hello, 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 hello. God, I am so good at streaming, chat. I am so good at streaming. If anybody tells you different, they're lying. They're clearly lying. Doom, doom, boom, boom. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I have missed you all so very, very much. Why are my eyes sparkly? That's not right. Let me fix this real quick. There we go. I missed you too. I missed you too. Why are you exotic? Exotic. My brain. Give me 3 seconds to catch up, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everybody. It's me. I'm LuckyJene. Lovely to see you. Hi, came over from TikTok and was able to catch stream early. Nice. I'm glad you came by. You are exotic. That's why you're in a menagerie. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for the follow. Let me turn on the notification sounds for the follow noises so that we can see when people actually win. 3, 2, and there it is. No winner this time, though. Hi, Gene. Thank you for letting me cook up that banner for you. Have a fantastic stream. Thank you so much for making that banner. I'll definitely have to use it. I do appreciate you. And how you doing, sweetie? Hope you're doing amazing. Hey, before you ask, no, I didn't go to other people's videos on TikTok and tell them about you. What are the conditions? What is it in it for me? Nothing, Lucy. You're in prison. You don't get to make conditions. Also, you're not supposed to tell other people about me. You're supposed to just comment in videos and exist there. You don't need to tell anybody anything. First time I'm here, stream instead of just seeing you via TikTok. Well, I hope you enjoy your time here. Exactly. In 1 second, let me turn on the volume of some of the music here so we can still play the music in the background. Boop. There you go. And thank you for the lurk. I appreciate it. Took 5 tries to make one sandwich at work because my brain was too hyper and I kept forgetting what I was doing. I feel that. Oh, today has been hard. Thank you for the subscription. The sub. Thank you for the sub. What the heck? Today has been hard, but thank you, Rockspot. I really appreciate it. I had 2 flat tires in my car today, and so me driving to work didn't happen. So, yeah, and I'm a little sick still, so, you know, I'm surviving. I am surviving. All right, lovelies. We're going to do our normal early stream stuff. I'm going to go through every single person who's checked in so far, say hello. And I'm going to, of course, thank the people who got here first because, well, you know, you're more important if you get here first. Okay, first off, thank you so much, Cheshire, for getting second. Silver Veng for getting first, and Lunar for getting third. Only one of those is in the right place. Rockspot. What did you do? Naughty rocks. All right, well, at least one of those was in the right place. And also, hello to everybody who checked in. So hello, Zingy and Gangsta and Silver Vang. Hello, Julius, Catherine, and Carmia. Hello, Cottage. Hello, Dwarf. Hello, Macaroni. Hello, Meow Kitty. Hello, Gojo Rocks. Hello, Ellie. Hello, Neela. Hello, Seven Kai. Hello, Annabelle. Thank you for the 15 stream check-in, Lunar. Hello, Brooke. Hello, Xenix. Hello, My Chemical Flame. Hello, Poison. Hello, Yuki. Hello, Sufja. Hello, Emperor. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Lachlan. Hello, Golden Boxing. Hello, Scarlet. Hello, Sinful Microwave and Embry. And hello, Red Fae and Boku and Paranormal. And hello, Pandragon and Young Choi and Pokemon. Hello, Butter Tub, not Tube. Hello, Kira and Kitty and Vo. Hello, Pink. Hello, Naptime. Hello, Loki and Silver Vang and Rocks. Hello, Brisk and Pink. Hi, Pink. Pronouns? I go by he, they. Chat, what pronouns do you use? It says Soof. It's S-O-O-O-F. Soof. Soof. You can't blame me for that one. You had too many O's. Hello, Ali. Hello, Echo. Hello, Chelsea. Hello, Yokoshiko. Hello, Vanya. Of course, hello, Vanya. Hello, Snowborn. Hello, Misty. Hello, Poppy. Hello, Tequila. And hello, Divine. Bam. We got it. She, they, la vaca, move. It's Dutch. I'm sorry. As much as I love the Dutch, it's not a real language. I do love the Dutch, though. But I will forever insist that Dutch isn't real. Hello, Autistic Gooner. Is it? Is it? Since when? Prove it. You know what? No, we're gonna look at. We're together. We're gonna look at the Dutch language. Give me a second. We're gonna look at pictures of the Dutch language right now. This is such a stupid thing, but we're gonna look at it together because it's so dumb. Give me a second. Where is it? 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 Okay, we ready? We ready? Okay, here it is. Daily discounted carrot juice. What is that? God, I love Dutch. I love Dutch. It is words. It is words. But the Dutch are amazing. And it is definitely German that has gone insane. Honestly, though, I've been to the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is one of the greatest places I've ever been to. So no hate to the Dutch. I will just always make fun of them. The Dutch are my French. Oh yeah, no, I've been to Amsterdam. Oh, do we want to talk about where I've traveled? You know what? Fine. Let's take a break. Well, before we get into any gaming and stuff, I'll give you all a rundown of places I've been, okay? Ja, natürlich ist Deutsch. Deutsch ist die beste Sprache, oder? Okay, so, love Germany. Absolutely love Germany. Half German, so I have to. I've been to Berlin. I've been all over Germany. I've traveled to Denmark. I stayed in an island off of Denmark, which is beautiful. I mean, like, you wouldn't think that the European, like the Germanic islands, like the tiny little islands, are that amazing, but it's fantastic. Of course, I went to Amsterdam. I did not smoke weed there. I have smoked cannabis, but I live in a place where it's legal, so it's fine. But I just went there. The greatest part of going to Amsterdam was the stupidest thing I love. Hot food vending machines. Hot food vending machines are so good. You go around and you just put in €1 in there or whatever cents, and you're just like, gotta pull out a burger. Let me get fries from this little vending machine. Yeah, have you not been to Amsterdam? Yes, they're all over the place. You get burgers, you get sandwiches, you get fries, you get all sorts of things. Just hot food in a vending machine being made there. Bye, Neela. Thank you for checking in. And it's so don't bonk me. The food was amazing. I had such a great time. That was like the junk food, the most junk food ever. Every time we would stop at a corner, I'd be like, look, another burger. Let me have another burger immediately. God, it was so good. It was so great. I mean, it was beautiful also. I mean, I went to some museums in Amsterdam and walked around and got to see all the beautiful places. Interesting fact. We're going to get nerdy real quick. Do you know why Dutch buildings are so narrow? Dutch, you're not allowed to answer this one. I know you like to talk about this fact, but do you know why Dutch buildings are so narrow? Taxes. The taxes. Because the buildings were taxed based on their front against the river. And so the less of the building that was against the river the canal, thank you, canal. Less that was against the canal would make it cheaper taxes. But it also makes it so that their doors are very narrow, and so are their stairs. So they have a hook at the top of the building, so you can lift up furniture to your story and put it in through the window. So all of the windows are big and open, so you can put furniture in the front of the building. Can I move from the basement to the attic? No, you cannot. No, you cannot. We don't have an attic. Not every city. No. It's the primary, like the capital and such like that. But it was. Those were narrow because of that reason. And it's very cool. Very cool. Can I please have a cookie? You can have a cookie. All right, you know what? I will activate Bonk again. Hello, welcome, new person. I will activate Bonk again. I will activate Chuck again. I'll activate TTS again, and I will activate all of the nerd voice redeems. Okay. As long as you all promise to be good today. I mean, you're always good. I'm gonna be honest. All of you are always good. I don't have any issues with you. There's occasionally a weird remark being like, "Oh, can you call me Daddy?" No, I'm not calling you Daddy. You're probably half my age. Well, hopefully everybody here's 18, but it is what it is. So, yeah, so I'm going to activate the nerd voice. I'm going to activate the whiny voice. We have the R4 from Such a Cute Little Puppy. We have the cage redeem. We have that. No one can leave the cage. I'm sorry. But all of you are amazing. And give me 1 second to fix. Give me 1 second. I have to actually activate the bonk. Do not redeem it yet, okay? Give me 5 more seconds, maybe 10, before you start redeeming all these things. Okay? 1 second. 1 sec. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. There we go. Can I paint your cage? You can paint your cage. You are good. You are good. You're all such good voidlings. Honestly. Honestly. You've all been so amazing. Especially TikTok people. All y'all who came from TikTok have been really chill.
Give me attic or give me death.
I will kill you. I mean, what? In Minecraft. Ow! I'm such a good doggy. I'm such a good doggy. There you go. Hate that one. You can be whatever you... Does anybody hear that? Is that just me hearing that? Oh, the game! Okay, 1 sec. So we got Vintage Story today. It was recommended to me this morning. And so I'm going to be trying it out today. It looks kind of like a Minecraft-y type thing, but very different as well. The only problem will be is if I can't do borderless. Ow! There we go. We can do it. It's fine. All right. I forgot you had cages. Of course we have cages. What kind of person do you think I am that doesn't have a cage? You know what? Fine. Fine. I'll take you back to the cage, okay? You behave yourself. We'll go to the cage in just a second. Since everybody wants to experience the cage IRL so badly. Oh, what is that? That's not right. Interesting. Why does it look like that? Aha, fixed it. All right, you ready? Here we go. Who's in it? I mean, anybody, everybody. I mean, you know who's really in the cage? You know who's in the cage? You! You're in the cage. Everyone's in the cage. Thank you for the bits! Hey! Thank you for the bits! What the heck? Thank you! I appreciate it. What cage do for a potato? Will I still grow and I'm in a cage? Oh, of course. Potatoes will grow in a cage. You're fine. You're fine. I'll only shake it a little bit. See? Look. You're fine. That's so many bits. I appreciate that. Thank you for the 1,000 bits. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It'll go to help me. Stop throwing up. What do you mean pee? I'm pushing you further in the corner. There. You got to be in the corner all the way over there now. In fact, you know what?
I'm getting paid tonight. So guess what the means?
What does that mean? What does that mean? If you're getting paid tonight, what does it mean? Why am I worried? All right, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Look at me, look at me, look at me. You see me? You see me? Behave yourself. Stop peeing in the cage. Stop throwing up. Okay? I don't want to shake the cage. But y'all make me shake the cage. It's needed sometimes. Hey! Hey! Okay, fine. Back in the corner. Back in the corner. No. Can I paint the bars? Sure. Thank you for the sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome. Stop throwing things. Who keeps giving you things to throw at me? Who keeps giving you things to throw at me? You behave yourself right now, okay? Or I won't take you outside again. I've taken you outside once and you immediately ran away. How dare you? Bad.
Means I'll have an unnecessary amount of money to spend on stupid crap like you.
You know what? Bet. You know what we'll do tomorrow? We'll do crowd control Red Dead. Tomorrow we'll do crowd control Red Dead so you can spend your money on it. Or, oh, God, what game do you want to do that's crowd controlled? We can do a few different games. We could do, I don't want to do Peak. Peak is just going to be frustrating. We could do Minecraft crowd control. We could do The Forest. We could do the other one. We could do Red Dead. Hello, Psycho Barbie official. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Are you the official Psycho Barbie? Are you a whole Barbie that is psycho and official? The new Peak update is honestly, what was the zombie one? That was The Forest 2. Y'all want to do that one? Okay, we'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do some crowd control. Today we are trying out. It will be an afternoon stream. Don't you worry.
As long as it's the afternoon stream.
You can't do repo with crowd control. Won't work because of the new update it had. Ugh, that's bad. Yes, the other one. Cult of the Lamb. We can also do more Cult of the Lamb. Okay. Here's the plan. For tonight, we are going to be doing this new game called Vintage Story. You know what? Let's go to another room. Bedroom? How do you feel about the bedroom? Thank you for the bits! Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump shaped like a deer. DUI, now how about you die? Driving, oh, that's broken. Drive 100 miles an hour. Whoop, bedroom. Okay, hello. Anyways, where were we? You don't trust me driving? We'll drive later. We're going on another drive another day, okay? Okay, so today, Vintage Story. Looks like a lot of fun. He's kind of saying, oh, I can do this. You ready? Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bump is shaped like a deer. DUI, now how about you die? Drive 100 miles an hour. Anyways, so you're broken. I am broken. Ow! I am broken. Little did you know I filled up on gas. I'm against your fountain making ass. Yes. So, okay. Vintage Story today. Tomorrow, Forest. Day after that. Cult of the Lamb. Ruff. Why are we barking? Why am I barking? What do you mean? What? Am I not allowed to take off my headphones? Thank you so much for the bits, though. Both Dark Leopard, Onyx, and who gave the bits earlier? Emperor. Thank you. You know what? I'm allowed. You know what? I'll make this worse. You ready for this? You ready for it to be traumatized? Oh, that's the wrong button. That's my sleepy button. Ignore my sleepy button. Wake up, Gene. Gene, wake up. Okay. Sorry. Okay. You ready? If you're on iPhone, you have to go onto the Discord website and enable joining 18 plus servers. But yes. But you know what I can do? I made a new button. For one redeem, and I'm going to show it to you for a split second, okay, chat? You don't get to see it longer than this, okay? This is for one redeem only.
You're a funny caretaker. I would like to cook noms for everyone in cage. Nothing potato though. I'm not a monster.
Okay. Anyways, we're going back. Let me take off the... Oh, the maid dress is stuck. Give me a second. We're just gonna... Heat. There it is. It is redeemed now.
Gene,
Aw,
did you like the
thank
chibi
you,
I drew
Rox.
of you as a maid? Lol.
I did. Oh my God, the art you all make is so cool. Genuinely, you do so much art. It's amazing. Your own art, amazing. But the fan art, it was no, it wasn't redeemed. Who redeemed it? No. Fine, we'll do it for like 5 minutes, okay? I'll do it for like 5 minutes. All right. Fine. Also, no, don't make me do ooh-woos in a maid dress. Why are we doing...
Rubbing your head for good luck, it's time for me to gamble.
Yeah, I know. Give me a second. We'll swap maps. Oh, no! Wait, come back! Oh, it's broken. Okay, wait. I got this. There we go. Oh, that was scary. Anyways, so right, fine. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. And,
Thank you, by the way. I did some costume pulls in CRK while watching, and got both thanks to your luck.
Stop taking my luck. There you go. Happy? I'm such a good doggy. Why do these redeems exist? I have a lot of redeems. There's too many redeems. Are there anyone else? And the whiny voice. You're gonna make me get in this outfit and do the whiny voice? Really? You're gonna make me do this? Why would you make me do this? Out of every voice that you could have chosen, you make me do this. But no. There is a cage redeem. I refuse. No. Don't. No. Fine, we have 1 minute of this voice. So Alexa, set a 1 minute. Alexa, set a 5 minute timer. I was made for this. I was made for this dress. Why? This is what happens when you gamble, by the way. If you gamble too much, chat comes back and they go, yeah, you now have to do stupid things. And now I have to do this. I don't want to. You let them exist. No, I gambled. It wasn't my fault. I didn't want to do this. Ow. Anyways, we're gonna go play the game now. How long have we been streaming for? It's only been 30 minutes. This is the worst. Has it been a minute yet? I think it's been a minute. Okay, I can drop to a normal voice. Okay, so right, where were we? This could be a TikTok. You could be a TikTok. Why would I post this on TikTok? I have a reputation to maintain.
Such a good boy. Pet.
God, why did I see this one coming? I knew you're going to try your best to get every voice through this one. Ain't you? You know what? We're going to dark mode. We're going to enter into the dark mode. Southern voice. Yeah, here you go. You got exactly what you wanted. Ara. Best I can do with a southern voice. You want a good ara? You got to let me not be southern, so. There you go. I feel so bonita. No, I don't. Damn. All right. I feel so bonita in my maid dress, courtesy of Nap. Southern maid? Yeah, about to get a southern foot up your ass. I truly am a southern belle. There you are. Happy. Anything else? You got any other words for me? The second this time is up, this dress is going away. I hope you understand that, all right? Southern accent on your is criminal, hold up. What do you mean southern accent on me is criminal? Castiel. Explain that. Southern Gene sounds like he's got a glass of whiskey at all times. The fact, ooh, I could drink. Where'd my wine go? Which one of you took it? There it is. All right, give me a second. I gotta go yeet myself into the void. I'll be right back. Did you ever find those glasses? I did not. Those glasses are still gone. Wine. Where's my fan? I need to cool myself down. I mean, girly. I am such a pretty princess. You happy with that one? I can't stop crying. You know, me too. I'm also depressed. I should have been waited for. Don't rub me for good luck. Not when I'm dressed like this. This ain't me. I love wine. All right. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Game. You ready for game? I got this. Now, the only way I'm keeping this... I could go make it fizzy. No, we ain't making it fizzy. Well, Allie, I really appreciate you being here, all right? I hope you're doing your best. And I get to drop the voice now. Genuinely, Allie, I hope you're doing okay. If you need anything, let me know. Feel free to reach out, either Mod Chat or wherever. Okay. Show. Right. Okay. Alexa, how much time left on my timer?
You have 1 minute left and 5 minutes.
That is such a long timer. Okay. Game's up. We're going to do Vintage Story. Let's swap up the categories to Vintage Story. Yeah. Vintage Story. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Make me a mimosa, please. Would really appreciate it.
Slay Queen.
Excuse me. Bite me. Okay. Gaming.
And here we have the true belle of the ball, Janadrella.
Alexa, stop. There you go. And there's the headphones, and everybody was like, where are the headphones? They're right here, okay? I put them away sometimes. You're not sorry. You're not sorry. Don't you lie. The only way I would do that May dress for the entire stream if I got paid like $50 or something. Pay to have my tires fixed, chat. The femboy allegations will never leave you. I'm not a femboy. I'm just a normal boy. Anyway. 100 bits, thank you! Thank you. Why do you want pummel? You're so greedy. Ow! Huh? It lies. It says you won, but you did not win. That, huh? Do I honor it, chat? Gifted sub. I gift a sub to the community. All right, there we go. There's the game. Yeah. They lie. We all put in $1, we can get dressed. Are there 50 of you? All right, you know what? We'll gift a sub out. I'll honor it. I'll honor the even though the alert didn't work properly, I will honor it. We will gift out a sub for you all. By the way, how's my microphone today? Hello. I thought you said there's 50 people. We've officially hit Twitch partner numbers. If we keep going with like incredible. Oh, well, when I looked at it just now, it was 70. Probably dropped back down to... What the heck? Thank you for all the... Hey, stop hitting me. Pornstar Martini. A lovely name. I love your name. The cage is working. It is, actually. Thank you for all the subs. Thank you. You did not have to. Okay. Come here real quick. I need to learn how to pronounce your name properly. E-M-P-E-O-R. Is it M? Pure? Is it Empure? Or do you want me to call you Ginge? Ginge. Walk me through how to pronounce your name. I feel like I owe you to be able to pronounce the name properly at this point. Thank you for the pitch. Seriously, guys. Gojo, you did not have to. I'll call you Emp. Hey, Empy. Emp, my sweet, sweet Emp. Head pats. Aw, thank you. Okay, this game. We secretly love the cage. What do you mean secretly? Every stream, y'all come out and be like, please keep me in the cage. Thank you for the bits, Dark Leopard. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, game time, game time, game time, game time, game, 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 game. There it is. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Did you make the thing this morning? Kitten Ray. Oh, no, I didn't. I did not. I did not. Because I realized that was on somebody else's post, so I'd have to find the original post. Right, what is this? Standard. Wilderness Survival. Wilderness Survival sounds fun. 50,000. Yes, exactly. 5,000 is $50 worth. Oh, Emperor. Bet. Then I'll keep calling you Emperor. Emperor. I'm not a fan of it, but the meme of it is funny. Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it worth it? How many subs is 50? You don't want to know. So I get 250 from every sub. So it'd be okay, so wait. 20 subs times 2 would be 40. And then, 20 subs. Actually, that's not too bad. 25. If not 25, it'd be 20. Wilderness Survival is like ultra hardcore, as fun as it sounds. Yes! Yes! Ultra hardcore, I don't know how to play this game. This is gonna go awfully. This is gonna be so bad. Are you ready? Are you ready for me to get absolutely destroyed? I'm so excited. Yes, FR is friend request. You're totally fine. It's funny. Thank you for the subs. Thank you, Pandragon. What the heck? Do you want me to actually figure it out? Okay, let's see how many gifted subs we've had. We can actually do the math. So 1,000 bits is $10. So we've had $10 so far. Then we've had 100 bits there. That's $11. $12. Which, seriously, 100 bits is a lot. I really appreciate that, guys. I mean, like, especially compared to like the is it loading? Seriously, I appreciate every single cent y'all give me. I want y'all to know that. We'll go about 115. Okay. That's gonna be 25. We'll say that's about. Hello, Nova Lover. Oh. Okay. Thank you, Dark Leopard. Wait, I want to do the math on this. Give me a second. I gotta pull out a calculator. Okay.
Head pats, city caretaker.
Stop it. Let me do the math first. You might already be there. Okay. Here we go. That's gonna be 1, 2, 3. We're doing math. I'm almost there.
Maid dress, maid dress.
And then we had gifted subs. Let me see, the gifted subs were We've had, what was it, 5 or 10 gifted subs so far? We've had normal subs too. You know what we'll say? We've had 10? Okay, 10. That's going to be... I'm never making a joke ever again. I'm never making a joke ever again. Damn. Sorry. you all. I think you just made it. And you know what? That is going to pay for my damaged tires. I had my two pump tires today, so I think it's going to be at maybe $50 to get them patched. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you all paying for my my tires. All right, let's see. What do we want for the hair? Mustache. Of course we need a mustache. Thank you for the subs. Thank you, Pandragon. Did we pay you 50 million? No, you did not pay me 50 million. Walrus. I need a good beard. There we go. Kind, neutral, serious, exhausted, there we go. Neat braid, and short spiky. That looks awful.
You manifested this destiny, Gene.
I manifested this destiny. You're right. There we go. I don't know what this is. We're going with it. And he's blue for some reason. You know what? 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 I love this. I'm ready. Okay, let's see. Do we want to be a hunter? A commoner? Farsighted, minus 15% melee damage. Claustrophobic. Malefactor. Forager, good. Nervous, minus 15% melee damage. Frail. Ooh, okay, but I kind of like it. Clockmaker. Ooh, what? Okay. Blackguard. Can make the short sword and shield. Always hungry, though. That's going to be a problem. Tailor. No. Commoner, boring. Okay. I'm thinking either the hunter, because bows and arrows are sick, or malefactor. I think the malefactor. Yeah? Yeah. Oh, wait. Minus 25% range distance. Minus 50% melee damage. Hunter might be the vibe. I'm not cute. I've just been bribed. They paid me. Okay, look. Would I be like this if I wasn't paid? Maybe, but hey. Okay, Eenie, but I don't see this one has a problem with ore drop rate and a slower mining speed, and I feel like mining speed's going to be important. I sold my dignity for $50. I would have sold it for less. I just guessed at 50. If I had said 100, would you all try to get me there? Stop calling me cute. I'm not cute. No. I'm handsome. So hand me some. Need help figuring out the game? Press K for the introductory menu. Yes.
Gene, I work countless overtime. You'll learn to fear me.
This is it's a weird threat. I mean, valid, but also, huh? See if we can figure out this game. K to open the introduction menu. All right. Need help? Oh, okay. I gotta adjust something real quick, chat. You're currently blocking. Oh, thank you for the head pats. You're currently blocking my screen, which is wild to me. Let's see. We're gonna toggle the border. Ow! Thank you for the subs. What the heck? Thank you. Aw.
Gina's sugar baby in process.
I'll take it. Thank you. Press the H for the handbook. Tutorials, recipe, shift H. You can open the handbook. Okay. Starter guide. I refuse. I refuse, chat. I can't read. Shut up! I'm not cute! Let me see. Okay, shift. Rock. Alright, we have a rock. No! He's pouting, so cute. Yeah, there's a reason why I didn't give it too much, because some people like to abuse the can you say. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem. There you go. Wait, was it not redeemed? It was redeemed. Okay, thank goodness. All right. Harvest with a knife. Okay, I have a rock. I have a rock. Can we put the rock in here to do something with it? Uh-huh. Nothing so far. Okay. I got this. I got this. Look, easy. This game is going to come so easy to me. I'm going to understand it immediately. Oh, look. Okay. We're going to hit the bush. We got a bush now. That's important. I know it is. We have rocks, so I'm going to get 9 rocks. I feel like 9 is a good number of rocks to have. And then I want stick. Because stick plus rock has to equal knife, right? That's a wolf. That wolf sees me. Fox, help me. Fox, help me. Fox, why are you running? Oh, what do we get? Place to begin napping. Huh? Okay. Oh, flint. Oh, hey, look, a person. What's up, homie? Haven't seen you around before. You just wake up. Think so? Well, good morning to you. My name's Yosika. I run these parrots. Finding trading. Got anything to trade? Okay, I need gears. Somehow we get gears. Wait, you can sell? What do you mean I can sell? Okay, we have that inventory. Ow! Ow! Thank you, Emperor. Ah. Okay, you cannot convince me to read anything, though. Okay, not that button. Come on. Thank you so much, though, guy. Oh, what? No, I don't want a whiny voice. All right, fine. I'll do the whiny voice for a little while, okay? Just for a little while. Okay, somewhere I have a knife. I don't know how to pull out my knife, though. What? No, has it been a minute? Also because you're adorable, Gene. Can you say I'm such a cute puppy? I'm such a cute puppy. There you go. What other check-in? What are we talking about? Ah, thank you for the gifts. Why? Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, you know what? I guess you all would have earned it eventually. Okay, how do I pull out the knife? If I was a knife, how would I get pulled? Maybe here? Maybe one of these slots? Okay, this music is absolutely insane. Give me a second. Where's this music? There we go. Jeez. Jeez. Yeah, right? What is going on with that music? I mean, I was like, I'm done. We don't need the music right now. I was going crazy. It was just getting louder and louder and louder. It was the worst.
If you were a knife, you'd get sheath.
If I was a knife, I'd get sheathed. You know, that might make sense. Okay, I can go back to normal. By the way, y'all, if you ever want to like post any of my clips on like TikTok, whatever, understand that I'm fine with it, as long as you know you give credit where credit's due. Yeah. What the heck? Why are you giving me more subs? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it so much. That is insane. Okay. I have to have the knife here somewhere. So I know I have a knife because I could sell one, right? So I can throw rocks, apparently. That's fine. This is so many subs. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Okay, fine. Fine. Starter guide. Mm-hmm.
You're never leaving that dress now.
What? No, it's only for the one stream. What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, flint arrowhead, flint axe, flint knife blade. Do we get it? Did I do it? I did it wrong. I broke it. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I love you, Gene. I may or may not clip you in your maid outfit on TikTok or YouTube and give you credit.
What? How dare you? Okay, granite knife blade. Oh, I actually have to... What? What? You're kidding. Oh, there was no way I was going to figure this out. Oh, you... Wow. Okay, this is kind of cool. Ow! What the heck? Hey! Hey, Poku, thank you. Thank you, Poku. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome to Caveman Hyperrealism Game. Enjoy.
Okay, cool. So I have a knife blade. Now if I do this and I do this, does that collect? No, it does not. Okay, I have half of this. Thank you, Poku. Seriously, guys. You know, I was really worried about my car today. I do appreciate this a lot because now I don't gotta worry about it. Thank you, Poku. Y'all are the best, you know that? You are all the absolute best. And I'm glad you all were able to get subbed. Stick! Okay, okay. So now hear me out. Stick. Stick. Knife blade. No. Okay, maybe not. Anonymous! Thank you for the gifted sub! Thank you, Anon. Okay, maybe 2 of them? No. Fine, okay. Flint stew. Let's look up knife. Granite knife. Oh, wait a second. Yes, I have a knife. You know what? Okay, we do need music though. So let's put on some chill music in the background. We good with that? Let's do what are we thinking? What are we thinking? We can do some chill lo-fi. We can do some generic music, just like BB No Money is available for pretty much anything. You may not have my knife. It's mine. Ooh, how about we do some chill stuff? We do yeah, we'll do BB No. BB No's for now. Or lo-fi. Ooh, no. Jazz cats. Jazz cats. Jazz cats. Jazz cats. We don't have to be chill. I just think jazz cats would be nice. I do love, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Lofifi, Laufi, Leviathan. What was that? Leve, El Bebe. Hey Hoshi. Hoshi, I'm playing Minecraft. It's your favorite game. What do you think? Do you like my Minecraft and my mods? Thank you for the follow, by the way. Toya, welcome to the menagerie. Thank you. I'm loving Minecraft so far. I'm loving hardcore. No, actually, this game seems really cool. Genuinely. I am absolutely insane. Does this game have gravity physics? Yes. There's gravity. Here, I'll test to see if there's gravity. Give me a second. Yeah, rockfall. Rockfall. I'm loving this actually though. Okay. What else can I make from this? Granite hoe head, knife blade, shovel head, spearhead. Ooh, okay. Yes. Need. So we're gonna go right along the inner edges to try to remove the biggest chunks. There we go. We got a spearhead, right? Perfect. And so now we're gonna mix a stick, and I'm assuming it's gonna be a long shot. There it is. Granite spear. Perfect. Can I throw it? Yes. Ooh. All right, more. All right, we're gonna do another granite spearhead. Me fire. Me discover fire. Not yet though, but I will discover fire. Ah! Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Yes. For when your enemy is too far away, you can throw spear. Good. We get more gifted subs? Oh yeah, no, because of the thing. I know, it's a bit disturbing. I don't normally want to be in a maid dress chat. This is not my normal vibe, but did I plant that? I don't want to plant. Oh, okay, wait. I need flint. Okay. Next is flint searching time. Can you have what? Okami. He prefers the maid dress? I do not prefer the maid dress. You'd be surprised. Maid dress, not my favorite thing. Careful with the spear. Can't make me. Flint is in charge of playing it. I'm sorry. I should stay in the dress every once in a while. I'll do it for money. I will happily do it for money.
Don't let him lie to you, chat. This is his normal. Gummy Beep 45, watch it, pal.
Thank you so much for the biddies. Thank you, PBJ. Oh, I need to have the thing read out who it is so that I can give shout-outs to people. That's what I need to do. I don't think Vanya can do that yet. Money, 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 money. Genuinely, money. I appreciate it. Kakashi. Sarah. You telling me you don't like it? Saying you hate me now, but I'm wearing a maid dress? What the Emperor? What the heck? Thank you. Well, you know what that means. We're gifting a sub back to the community. Give me a second while we gift a sub. Thank you for the lurks. I really appreciate it. And here we go. That is insane. That is insane. They're like, oh yeah, your sub goal is 10. Congratulations on 50. Thank you. You did win. I'm proud of you. Okay. I think I'm getting hungry. That might be a problem. Flint! Okay. We don't need the black currant bush right now. I don't think I need these either, whatever they are, but we're going to try and place this down. Okay, we're going to do this and this and this. So we're going to do that to plant it. Okay. It is good, and I think... No, okay. Fire. Let's figure out fire. Starter guide. Flint to hard stones. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the... What the heck? Carmia, you didn't have to. I appreciate it. Okay. Wait. Okay, place the grass on the... Add 4 pieces of firewood. Okay, how do we get firewood? And ignite it with a fire starter. Okay, firewood. So I need axe. Okay. Makes sense. We got this so far. Understanding. And we're going to need... fire starter, which is going to be dry grass and sticks. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, sticks, dry grass, fire starter. Perfect. We're going to plant these bushes here because I don't want to waste them. Take the dry grass. We're good there. Now I need a nap and axe. I don't know which one's better, but I'm gonna assume flint is a little bit better. So let's do a flint axe head. Hey! What the Emperor? You went in again, son? Really? Thank you. I do appreciate it. I do. I can't believe you're winning that much. Absolutely wild. 1, 2, 3. 1. Axe has been made. Perfect. Okay, I need more wood. So let's go get some more wood. Really? I'll gift that sub later, I promise. Thank you, though. Wait, hype train? Hype train? Oh, that's actually really cool, though. Since when are we on a hype train? All right, we gotta play a hype train song, chat. You ready? It does look like modded Minecraft in, like, the best way possible. Thomas. Here we go. I got this. Wait. Here we go. Thank you for the gifteds. What the heck?
The train must be fed.
There we go. I cannot believe we've hit this on the hype train. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Long twirly skirt. Long twirly skirt. Definitely long twirly. Thank you all for the hype train. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is crazy. Thank you. What's the highest I think we've gotten? We've gotten, I think, to level 9 at the highest. I think we've gotten the highest is level 9. Yeah, no, I might just get new tires at this point. No, I don't think so. What the heck? Well, thank you all. Thank you, 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 thank you. We are so close to making it to the next tier already. It is crazy. Crazy. Crazy.
Baku, forget fearing me. I fear Baku.
You know what? Yeah, we got a BB No dance party. BB No dance party, is that what we want? You know what? And let's play a song that fits my brain. Here we go. Thank you for the bits. Thank you. This has been incredible, y'all. This has been an incredible day so far. And you know, not just because of all the gifts, genuinely. The fact that there's so many of you here who've been hanging out, who've been vibing, who've been loving the stream, and who've been coming from TikTok and everywhere. It's been... this is great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. If ever I am not this appreciative of just having you here, I've been replaced, okay? Because y'all are amazing. Hey, thank you for the bits! 609 bits. Do, 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 do. Not the pummel at the last second. Thank you. All right, we'll turn the music back down. We'll keep listening to cool music, okay? Let's keep playing some game. Let's keep playing some game. Wait, why am I... Am I hungry? Oh, I'm hungry! I think I'm dying. Okay, we need to figure out food. Man, we're almost at level 9. That is insane! Ah! Okay, starter guide. Food. All right, we need berries. We had so many bits. Ah, thank you. Thank you for the bits. Oh, I'm getting loved. I'm getting loved on. What the what? Level 9. Level 9. Level 9. Insane. Okay, I'm gonna try to hunt this. Yeah. Oh, I'm weak. Hey! Whoa! Whoa! Boku? Boku? Boku, 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 Boku. Boku gets extra outside time. Hey, Nafar, welcome Diamond Demo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, it's getting late. Oh, we have no food. You come back to Prime. You came back with Prime? Hey, thank you. 100 over 10? Ooh. We've gone way beyond what I was thinking we'd hit. All right, what can I eat? What the hell, Sarah? Thank you. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Thank you, 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 thank you. You know, that's the thing. I had a rough day today so that I could have an even better day now. Who's your brother? Diamond. Oh, got you, got you, got you. Hey, Emperor, what the? Jeez, jeez, that's insane. Oh, brothers, that's actually kind of cool. All right, I need to find Barry somewhere. Flint axe head, wood, axe. Hey, Vanya, thank you. How I've been playing Vintage? Today. I've just started playing this game. Not even a full hour. All right, we have a chicken. Come on, come on. Wait. Let me kill you. Come here. I don't want to die. Yeah, did all of you get paid today? Is that what happened? This is such good karma for being such an amazing person, Gene. We all cherish you so much. Oh, thank you. We beat the record. Hey, we beat the record. Crazy, 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 crazy. All right, come here, come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Y'all are so amazing. Y'all are so amazing. I appreciate it so very much. Oh, where'd the chicken go? Where'd it go? Okay, hypothetically, I can eat cooked cattails. It's an emergency food. I don't know if we have time to cook them, but we're gonna try. I don't think I have time to make it. What if you were chicken? I can't eat you. Those aren't cattails. No! No, I collected thatch. I collected the wrong thing. Vanya, you need to live. All right. Can I eat this? I cannot eat this. I cannot eat this. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. No. What do you have back, nap time? Feast upon my flesh, Jeremy. I can't refuse. Oh. Y'all, I need to pay you all back for this. I need to pay you all back for this. Is there anything that y'all would like to see on stream? Since y'all have given me so much, I want to give it back to you. Is there anything that you'd like to see or any sort of content you're vibing with? What's the McDonald's stream? I know how to do the McDonald's stream. I just need to get, I need to spend some time learning it. Me being me? More maid dress? We're about to die. I don't know how to make a fire. Death. Okay. Third arm. Ah! Where'd that come from? Ah! 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 Why do I have a... Where? Ah, help! Help! Ah! My dress! I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how to get rid of it. I don't know how to get rid of it. Ah! 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 Oh, we're taking off the dress. Give me a second. Okay, we're gonna fix this. I got this. I got this. Okay. Gene, I haven't known you or the community for too long. Just to say, you and this community are outstanding, fantastic, fabulous people, and everyone in here deserves as much love and kindness. I care for every single one of you, loving, gorgeous souls. You are all amazing. You're all amazing. I appreciate you all so very much. I'll put the maid dress back on. I'll put it back on. Give me a second. I promise. Here we go. You ready? You ready? There we go. It's back. I fixed it. It's one of my favorite songs. Shrimps are really neat. I cannot believe you hit Little 10. Radioactive from Walmart? Yeah, it was the shrimp. It was the shrimp. The shrimp infected me. Okay, Boku, I'm banning you from spending any money. I'm banning you from spending any more money. No manic. I don't want to take advantage of a manic attack, but I do appreciate it so far. There we go. Oh, it was the dirt earlier. That's so cool. We broke the record. We broke the record. All-time record shattered. Amazing. Amazing. Y'all are incredible. Oh. What happened? I found a cave. All right, we need a knife. Rap stepfather, you hate me, but you will respect. We'll make a spear. Calling your shrimp. I like that y'all are vibing so hard with this song. I love you all. I love you all. I got so lucky with this community. Genuinely. I mean, you know, I could have a community that was just creepy to me all the time or said weird things all the time, but all you do is be positive, goofy, silly, you bully me. It's... Thank you. Thank you for being as amazing as you are. I also made a shovel and not an axe. Oh, wait. I think I figured it out. I chose to make a shovel and not an axe. That's on me. That's on me. You're dyslexic? That's fair. And Photoshop me. I mean, like, you Photoshop me into silly positions. You could do a whole lot worse with Photoshop. So I appreciate it. Aww. What is this? What is this? Can we play Seabat? Nighty night. Sleep well. Fine, we'll play Seabat. You ready? This is just for you, all of you nerds and dorks out there. Get ready. Oh. No, before we continue playing, I want to explain this to you really quick, okay? So, Seabat was a song that a Redditor used while doinking his partner. And he used the melody of the song to choose his pace. Now, you should never use the melody for choosing your pace when doinking. You should choose, you know, like the beat. So, because the only way that they can decide how they doinked was because of the melody of the song. Because she told him that he can no longer play the song while doinking. And then they doinked again. And she was like, you're still listening to that song in your head. Because he was doinking in a way that she could tell he was still using the beat. You ready? This is what he was using to pace his rhythm while making love to his sweet partner. And she banned it. And he apparently kept doing it in his hair. Nope. Imagine what's happening here. Because she could recognize it from his motions. How awkward must that have been? Oh, fish. Fish. Fish, 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 fish. Wait, why can't I get this fish? Give me the fish. I can't pick up the fish. I'm drowning and I can't pick up the fish. Okay, that's enough of that. Okay. Back to some nice music. Enjoy your eats. Thank you for coming by. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bully you into a new position. I don't know. Why were you? Immersion. I'm lost. Help. 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 Oh, okay, I made it out. I never thought it'd be this hard to find a tree in the dark, honestly. Y'all are amazing. Woof woof. There's not been any redeems for a little while, has there? Any vocal redeems or anything? Which is fine. Why did I say that? Okay, good. We'll just resist then. There we are. I found the trees, I think. I hope those are trees. It's so hard to find a tree in the forest. Thank you for the lurks. I do need a Vok. Take me outside. Ah, fine. Uwu. Thank you so much for the redeem. I cannot do Southern and German. They are on different parts of the mouse. Ah, Skay! TTS is out of stock. Oh no. Okay, I need something that's better music, so how about we listen to... this? How's this? This good? Oh, enjoy your work, Poison. I'll be here. Okay, we have some more rocks. Nice. I have everything I need, honestly. I legitimately cannot escape now because I'm trying to find a way out. I hope work goes quick, okay? Here's the plan, chat. Until I've made like a little home, we are going to keep trying to survive. There's things happening and I can't see. Until I've at least cooked one good meal, eaten and survived a full night, we are going to be like this, okay? I'm going to keep going. Verify. Oh, there you are. Yes. Why is this Arnold? This is nicht Arnold. You cannot call this Arnold. Ah, me too. I'm also sick. I hope you feel better soon. Then we can be healthy together. I'm hungry again. And we have yet to find a tree. Okay, I ate a seed. We are good for a little while. Don't womp me. All I need to do is find a tree. Or a berry bush or something, you know? What are you? Birch leaves? Oh, this is a tiny little birch tree. Birch. Grass. We can't eat grass, apparently, for some reason. Birch. What is this? Oak. Okay. Tree. There it is. Okay, now we are going to figure out how to make fire, okay? Firewood. Okay. Axe und wood. Perfect. Well, now we need a stick and some dry grass. So we're going to get some dry grass here. Perfect. Easy. Dry grass. Stick. Or was it stick und dry grass? There it is. Okay, perfect. Oh, and a torch. Very nice. Okay. Step 1, fire starter. We need flint! Ah! Oh, is that right? Cottage, I did not know that, but that makes sense. I did know partially about that. Okay, let's look up the starter guide again. Here's fire. Fire. Okay, fire starter and firewood. Okay. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. I need more wood. This is awful. Where's the tree? Where is the tree? Where is the tree? Who's taking my trees? Now I gotta do something, right? 2 minutes. But it says birch. I mean, it ain't a birch bush, it's a birch tree, ain't it? Why is everything a bush? It says maple. Maple's a kind of tree, so where's the wood? I got so many sticks. Where's the wood? You can't just say the name of the tree? Why can't I say the name of the tree? What's going on here? Here's wood. There we go. I lost my axe. Alright, we're gonna place more. What the heck is this? Alright. You bite a dog? Don't bite me! Alright. Axe. I got this. Neek's got puns? Neeks is a pun. Ask me what that means, I don't know. Alright. Now. Spear. Any fish? No fish. Bush. Can't eat that. Enjoy your meeting. Thank you for coming by. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's Gona. No, I'm just dying because I'm starving is what's happening here. Give me treat, give me treat, give me treat. Vonnie, I'm never ending the stream ever again. Stream's going on forever, chat. Get ready. Alright, now I need cattails. Ain't no way I'm gonna find them, but I'm gonna try to find them. Vonnie's not allowed to explode. Oh, there they are. Nice. I'll probably run out of energy before then, but still, I'll try my best. Cattails, cattails, cattails. A little more. All right. Now we're gonna make a fire. Now we're gonna start with a fire starter. Come on, come on, come on, come on. I need it, I need it. Give me the fire. All right, now we got cattails. No, don't take away the wood. No, stop it. I have cattails. How do I cook them? All right. I need the roots. All right. How do I cook you? How do I cook you? How do I cook you? No, I have to make a pit. I have to make a pit. I have to make a pottery. I don't know how to make pottery. I was gonna eat this. I died. Well, thank you for coming by. Thank you for coming by the way. Yeah, at least I like challenges. What's this? Brown coal, interesting. Why am I doing Southern? I feel like I should have been done with Southern a while ago, right? I got berries. I got berries. I got berries. Woo! Can we get a pog in chat? Chat. Can we get some pogs in chat? You also don't have to pog. It's fine. You don't actually have to, but you know. Nodders. Evil. I gotta make a knife blade. There we go. Knife. Knife acquired. Amazing. Poggers, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oof. Valid. Valid, also valid. Oof is also valid. Look at all the berries we got. Wait, hey, Cottage, you were telling me about, I went to Taipog, yeah, you were telling me about the black currants, they cause fires? Is that true? Can you explain that for me? I'm kind of curious about that. Is it just because, like, the underbrush, or what happens? I mean, it does make sense. I guess a lot of berry bushes dry out. But what specifically happens? Yeah, educate me. I'd like to learn. I'd like to learn a little bit. Educate me. All right. Okay, first level, we got this. Oh, interesting. Oh, so like like the eucalyptus in California. Have you heard about that one? That one's funny. So a guy came from Australia and sold a bunch of eucalyptus trees to California, and the first scam is that they take forever to grow. The second scam is that they're not good for wood usage because they were originally bought for being used for wood, and the third scam is that they're extremely flammable when they are fully matured, and I think even explode. So yeah. So they might be one of the causes behind the forest fires. Yep. This is concerning. Why did I get some wood, but not much wood? Did the game just feel pity for me? Is that what happened? The game felt pity for me? Interesting. Very interesting. So we're gonna make a new axe. I broke that one. Okay, well. No longer rank your koala. don't rebrand Vanya. Vanya has a nice brand. Wait. Oh, this is not the right kind of stone? Interesting. Okay. Okay, we need a axe. Oh, it's Vanya! I'm here to watch you die. Valid. Immediately gone. Immediately gone. The raccoon came just to see me do stupid things and then just left. Amazing. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Absolute realism. Okay, we have the wood for a fire. I'm gonna put the fire up on dirt this time so it doesn't burn everything down around us. Valid. Yeah, no, but they're explosively flammable. Like, I guess it's the eucalyptus oil is what's flammable. It's not necessarily them. Did you know that acorns are negatively nutritious? At least for people. You can eat acorns, but they aren't good for you because they do not provide nutrition for you. They actually take more nutrition for you than you get out of them. Tannins? You can eat things with tannins and not good, but I mean, wine has tannins. I mean, they will make you not feel good eating acorns, but they do take more energy and calories to burn than they would from and nutrients than you would ever get out of them. The only reason I know that is because one day I looked up, can I eat an acorn? And they're like, no. What don't I understand? Don't eat acorns. Their tannin levels are toxic? Valid then. Don't do it. Okay, here it is. To remove the bitter and potentially toxic tannins, to make them safe, you must leach the tannins by boiling them or soaking them in multiple changes of water until the water runs clear. So you can eat them, but they aren't good for you. At least that's what I was told. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? I figured it out. So they are they are bad for it because the tannins block your ability to process nutrients, and that is how they have less nutrients. Because tannins will block your body's ability to receive nutrients, so they cost you nutrients. There we go. And so if you do prepare them properly, apparently they can be potentially nutritious. But tannins make them not nutritious. So we learned something. Wait, does that mean if I drink too much wine, I cannot process nutrients anymore? So alcoholics get less nutrients? Ooh, wait, this is making sense. I'm annoyed this makes sense. Well, I mean alcohol too, but like shh. Come on, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. You know you want it. There it is. As I drink soju. Soju valid. Okay, what can I do with logs? Let's learn what I can do with logs. Progression guide. Okay, napping, we did that. We want a hand basket. We want some hand baskets. We have food. Spear's good. Cob, soil, packed dirt, or cobblestone. And logs. Okay. Preserving it. Apparently I need to make a cellar. What? Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay. 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 Go to sleep. Yeah, get some sleep. Oh, really? That's cool, Carmia. I lost my berries. I don't know what happened to all my berries. My berries are gone. Okay, things we need. Things I need. I need a cellar. I need to build a little base. So we need nice rocks. This stone is not good, but it does exist. Get some eeps, get some eeps. Everyone's allowed to get eeps, by the way. Oh, by the way, we are doing mod applications. I'm going to be doing a new mod application soon. Oh, here we go. So if you are interested in mod applications, you know, womp womp and all that. Okay. Okay, stone is good. I like the stone. You're too young to be a mod? No one's too young to be a mod. I'm very average to work with. What does that mean? What does that mean? That feels rude. I feel insulted. Okay, we're gonna make a shovel. I mean, yeah, it's better than bad, but also it's not good. Hey, Gene only kind of sucks. I don't have any sticks. Okay, we'll come back. Shovel, perfect. Okay. Now let's dig up some dirt. Yes, that's what I was hoping to see. This feels like I'm in the 60s and I'm having a floor that's actually made out of like real materials. We're picking up all of like the garbage plaster stuff. Ooh! Ooh, 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 what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Ladder? Ladder? How do I go down? Help! Help! Chat. Oh, it's ruined. Okay, I can only figure out how to go. Wait. Maybe. Aha! Okay, how do I... Can I make like a pick? That's a vibe, that's a vibe. Okay, what else can I make if I nap? It's like a perfect cellar though. Copper. Okay, so we need copper to break that. So for now, the idea is we're gonna take all of this that we have here. What is that? Okay. You know what? There we go. Okay, dirt falls really easily. Understood. I am a sweetie pie, thank you. What? Bow wow? I'm not a dog. Make me be a dog right now. Make me be a dog right now. I believe in you. You can do it. Turn me dog. What do you mean, Silverfang? I think 5. I think it's like 5 is the minimum. Oh, I appreciate. I'm glad you're tidying your room. Nice. What name's Are far from such a cute little puppy. Are far from such a cute little puppy. Are far from such a cute little puppy. There we go. I'm not a puppy. I'm not. Okay, now I should be able to put this wood here. I need more firewood. I wasted all my logs already. Let me go get my log. There we go. What are we doing? What are we doing? There's the logs I need. Okay. Then we have the fire starter. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I have it set for 5 because the victory chance for winning the gifted sub thing is a lot higher for raids. And so I had a few times where somebody would come in with 1 viewer, and it was like it started costing me money to have them raid me. Which, I'm appreciative of people coming in and wanting to, give me raids and all that. But it was definitely a thing of like, it came a certain point where I appreciate it, but I can only afford so much. Okay. We need food for the night. So let's see if I can find something I can cook. Or eat. Ideally berries. I love that. What is this, by the way? What a bunch of random stuff. Flaxseed. Ooh. Can I eat this? No, I cannot. Flax fibers is nice. Red grass. Okay. Time check? It's almost 2. It's only almost been 2 hours. I might go a little bit longer because I wanted to kind of like get established. I'm having a decent time. Is anybody like? I mean, I don't want to kill y'all's energy. If y'all are like, y'all are used to only being here for 2 hours, so I'm having fun trying to figure this out. I know I'm not the most talkative right now. I'm figuring all this out, and I do apologize for that. I really do appreciate y'all hanging out, though. I'm doing okay. All right. Yeah, this is hitting nicely. And this might become a morning stream game, actually, with how chill it is. Because all we have to do is put the music on. I can get rid of their music. Because their music is weirdly aggressive. But it's good. Just so much. Can't eat cattails yet. Surprised anybody survived these era. Yeah, and I can't eat those yet because I need to have a pot to cook them in. At least I have no idea how to cook them yet. Me want to die. You can eat the roots, but don't eat the corn dog. Give me stick, 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 give me stick. I want stick. Corn dog go floof. It does. It do. It do. It do. Bunch of nerds. I need a stick. Give me a freaking stick. Please give me a stick, my love. Does that work? Do you feel encouraged to give me a stick? Ah, stick. Found it. Thank you for the chucking. Spear. I don't want to go too far away from home. But we are going to starve. What is that? What is that? Give men the spooky thing. Spooky, 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 spooky. Go in. Spooky. Oh. I do not know the stick song. Tell me the stick song. Teach me the stick song. Ooh, what's this? Gib. Why can't I pick it up? Why can't I pick it up? What's going on? Someone explain. What's going on? What game is this called again? What's this game called? Vintage. Oh, for some reason my 4 inventory slot was just not letting me pick anything up. That's weird. There's nothing in my 4. Yeah, for some reason I can't pick anything up. Huh? What do you mean I have a spider web? There's nothing there. It was an invisible item. It was my spear. My spear was invisible for some reason. Okay. We need to find berries before it gets too late. We're gonna eat this. We're gonna eat this. We're just gonna eat mushrooms. I'm sure they're fine. Okay. Now I need to find clay. Sure, it's fine. Okay, what's clay look like? Clay! Can we maybe get it from muddy gravel? What do you think? It's an inky cap. Ooh. That's not what I want. That's just soil. If I were clay, where would I be? You're a mushroom? I knew it, Carmi. I always knew you were a mushroom at heart. I would assume clay would be here, right? I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how to get clay. Okay. Flint, combat, shelter, preparing for winter. That's fine. Oh, wait a second. Okay. I found the tutorial. Okay. Find 5 sticks. It's funny that it took me this long to find the tutorial, honestly. Three, 4, 5. Come on. Come on, give me stick, give me stick, give me stick. Stick, 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 stick. Where is the stick? Wow, rude, sweetie. All right, we got the sticks. Oh, I need one more stick. Bad at counting, my bad. There we go. All right, let's make a knife blade. Okay. Okay, we're gonna harvest 10 blah blah blah. Oh, I need a hand. Where's okay? But might be. Am I feeling better? I'm doing a lot better than I was. I'm still a little sick, and my day's been really stressful. But chat made my day even better. So I think we're good, honestly. Actually, now that I can afford to get my tires fixed, that's gonna be nice. It was totally the maid's dress. It was totally the maid's dress. You know who we are. You know who we be. All right, I think. That was a joke, chat. That was a joke. The maid's dress, I'm impartial to it. I don't care about the maid's dress. It's just a dress. I know you love the maid dress. I know you do. And 1, 2, 3. All right. Wait, how do I do this? How do I make a basket? What the heck? Okay. Oh. Interesting. I'm glad you all had a good time. Let's see what happens if I do something like this. Ha! Dang, we're hungry again. It's so difficult to stay alive, chat. It's so difficult to stay alive. Why you gotta be hungry all the time? Oh, I'm sorry you had a bad rank game. I need to eat something. There's monsters, there's monsters, there's monsters, there's monsters! And it's gonna be the end of the day! It's the end of the day, it's the end of the game, it's the end of the game. Woo woo! Yeah, no, but that is. I think it's a good place to call it. We are starting to get to the place where we're starting to understand what we're doing. So I think this might be a game I bring in the morning games sometime. Once I find my keys, I'll check my mailbox to see if the book I ordered arrived. And for now, let's hang out for a little while. How y'all doing? It's been a good, fun, chill day. Had a lot of fun with you all, genuinely. I mean, it's been such a vibe, just hanging here. I know we've calmed things down near the end. But here, come here. Y'all did amazing, okay? Here, we'll pause the music. We'll pause the music. You've all been so incredible today. So very wonderful. So kind and sweet. And I hope you get some sleep, okay? Pretty good I started drawing again. I'm glad. Y'all should do art. Be creative. Write stories. Do anything. I've not seen your work in progress, but I promise I'll check it out after stream. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I know this stream would not be even close to as amazing as if you guys weren't here. Every single one of you makes this stream so much better. And I know as we grow, there's going to be more and more people. And there's going to be so many people. But I will still appreciate each and every one of you. That's why we have places like the Discord where we can still hang out and talk. And if things get too busy here, there'll still be spaces for us to communicate. And eventually, we will do meet and greets in VR. We'll hang out there. We'll do a lot of stuff, okay? Sorry to hear that nap time. But we do a lot of stuff. The Voidlings are amazing. All of you little Voidlings are just so, so wonderful. Speaking of, I need to do another TikTok tonight before I go to bed. How are we feeling? How's everybody feeling right now? Y'all doing okay? Oh, that's fair. You are a little brain rotted. EP? Good. EP is good. You should be EP. Get some rest. You finished a drawing of Goldie. Who's Goldie? Oh, Gojo. I'll tell you this. It'll get better. It'll get better. Things will always get better, okay? Keep moving forward. Keep stepping step after step. You'll do better in the next one. And other people will do better as well. Alright, I think we should find somebody to raid into, yeah? What kind of vibe are we feeling? TW Jet is alive right now. We have Lulu Lupo. Does anybody have anybody they'd like me to raid into? Anybody have anyone they would like me to raid into? Maybe we meet somebody new today. What do you think? Or we could raid into people we already know. Oh, I'm sorry, Ben. Bobby Brook. I have a small streamed? Who? Who's sinful? Who they? Who they? Kira Doji. Kira Doji isn't... I feel like I know Kira Doji. Let's take a look at... Who? Siran, so... They're doing Peak right now. Are they doing solo or are they doing a collab right now? Oh, alright. Give me a second while we watch the video. I'll listen to them talk just a little bit. Oh, come on, advertisements. Really? Really? I want to raid into somebody. Okay. Come on, come on. Another ad. Another ad. This is insane. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you for the stretch. Oh, that's a lot of people. Okay, now I'm going to raid into Pichio here. This just feels like too many people to raid into out of all of a sudden. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do... I saw somebody do the red and black cards. We're going to copy this here. We're going to do a little... Oh, we're going to do a little... Lucky. Right, boo, 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 boo. This. All right, we're gonna raid into this person here. Y'all be nice, y'all be kind. They seem very sweet, very cozy. I appreciate y'all so very, very much. Copy that raid message. And I will see you all next time, okay? Bye, lovelies. Mwah.